The Last Invention of Gabriel Wells. Chapter 1. A Sombre Gathering. They say that on the day Gabriel Wells died, a storm the likes of which none had seen in decades brooded above London. The sky was iron grey, swirling with low thunderheads that rattled the chimney pots, as if the heavens themselves sensed the passing of one of mankind's greatest minds. Rain swept the streets, turning cobblestones slick and shining beneath the flickering glow of gas lamps. Inside the abbey, where they held his funeral, a solemn hush prevailed, punctuated only by the muted roll of thunder. I had the dubious honour of standing near the front row at that funeral. My name is Dr. Edmund Deering, once a student, indeed one might say a disciple, of Gabriel Wells. To this day, I recall the hush that fell over the pews as the coffin was borne inside, draped with black cloth and bearing his initials in gold thread. Prominent figures of society attended, lords and ladies, scientists of every field, a smattering of politicians who once courted his favour. None spoke above a whisper. Gabriel Wells had been a luminary, the father of modern electromagnetic theory, a pioneer in mechanical computing devices, a statesman of science who dared dream that technology might one day banish war, famine, and disease. He was also, it must be admitted, a difficult man, stern, uncompromising in his vision. I had known him for nearly half my life, serving as an assistant in his laboratory, learning at his elbow, sometimes chafing under his brusque instruction. Yet never had I doubted his brilliance, or his capacity for dreaming beyond the limits ordinary men accepted. When the funeral ended, with eulogies praising his genius and devotion to the betterment of mankind, the pallbearers carried him out into the storm, as though to deliver him directly to the moaning winds. I stood aside, numb with grief and the sense that the world had irrevocably changed. Just then, a man in a neat black suit and bowler hat approached. His face was narrow, with intelligent eyes behind small spectacles. "Dr. Deering?" he inquired softly. "My name is Lionel Reeves, solicitor for Mr. Wells's estate. I wonder if you might spare a moment to discuss an urgent matter." I nodded, though surprise flickered in me. "Of course." We retreated beneath the Abbey's portico, where Reeves carefully opened a waterproof satchel, producing a sealed envelope. "Mr. Wells left explicit instructions that upon his death, a final demonstration of his last invention be arranged," he explained. "You alone are named as caretaker of this demonstration. His notes refer to something called harmony." At that, my heart clenched. Harmony. The name conjured half-forgotten nights in Wells's workshop, where he laboured over a new automaton, humanoid, graceful, unlike any mechanism I had seen. He had spoken of it only in cryptic terms, calling it his masterpiece. But in the final months of his life, we had grown estranged. He was secretive, almost feverish about that project, seldom letting me see more than glimpses. Now, it seemed, he had completed it without my knowledge. Reeves cleared his throat. "Will you come to his estate tomorrow evening? Mr. Wells's final instructions specify that you and a small circle of witnesses gather in the Great Hall for the unveiling of this creation." Though my grief weighed heavily, curiosity and duty prodded me to agree. Gabriel Wells had trusted me even after our disagreements. I could not fail him at this last request. "Yes," I managed, "I shall be there." The next day dawned with more relentless rain, but by late afternoon the clouds lifted, leaving the city awash in pale sunlight. I travelled by motorcar to Wells's estate on the outskirts, an austere mansion rising beyond a wrought-iron gate. The drive wound through a garden, gone somewhat wild in recent years, as if the grounds had reflected Wells's reclusive tendencies near the end. I remembered a time when gatherings here had been jovial, with horticultural displays, banquets, and scientific demonstrations open to scholars. Lately, it had been mostly silent, inhabited only by his butler, Mr. Fenwick, and a handful of staff. I arrived at the appointed hour and discovered a small group in the foyer, a pair of scientists from the Royal Society, the widow of a prominent industrialist who once funded Wells's projects, and a few acquaintances from the world of letters. All wore uncertain expressions, evidently as in the dark as I was. "Dr. Deering," greeted Fenwick with a bow, "your presence is most welcome. If you will follow me to the great hall, we shall commence at once." We followed him into a wide chamber with a vaulted ceiling. A glass dome overhead let in watery sunlight. At the far end stood a broad dais hidden behind a velvet curtain. Great crates of mechanical parts, gauges, coiled wires lay scattered about, hinting at the nature of the demonstration to come. Reeves waited at the dais, clearing his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, per the late Mr. Wells's bequest, we gather today to activate his final invention, an automaton named Harmony. Dr. Edmund Deering will oversee the unveiling, as he is named the official caretaker." He gestured for me to step forward, handing me a ring of keys and a sheaf of typed instructions. The instructions were concise, yet meticulous. How to open the automaton's control panel, how to prime its power source, how to engage its main gyroscope. My heart pounded as I read them. So Gabriel truly finished it. I recalled the half-finished sketches, a humanoid figure with delicate joints, powered by advanced capacitors, a thinking engine of clockwork and electrical relays. All that was to be integrated behind a flexible exterior, an artificial being that might walk, speak, even reason. At a nod from Reeves, Fenwick drew aside the curtain. The audience gasped. There stood Harmony, a life-sized figure shaped from polished metal and covered with a pale, porcelain-like exterior that gave it a strangely lifelike appearance. The face was serene, almost androgynous, with finely sculpted features. In place of eyes, it had two crystal lenses that glimmered in the overhead light. Despite its stillness, it radiated a presence both beautiful and faintly unsettling, like an angel cast in metal. I exhaled, stepping onto the dais. With trembling hands, I consulted Wells's notes. Unlock rear panel. Initiate fluidic circuit. Prime the conductive filaments. Carefully, I followed each step, hearing faint clicks and whirs as internal mechanisms responded. Then, at last, I pushed the main activation switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the automaton stirred. A soft hum filled the air. Its eyes flickered with a gentle blue glow. The arms rose slightly, as though testing their range. A subtle shift of the chest plate hinted at breathing. An illusion, certainly, but eerily convincing. The onlookers exclaimed. One lady pressed a hand to her mouth in awe. A man uttered, "Remarkable!" I found myself transfixed by those glowing eyes, trying to discern if consciousness, or something akin to it, now inhabited the machine. The hush in the great hall felt electric, charged with the sense that we stood on the precipice of an epoch-making revelation. A moment later, the automaton's lips parted. A voice, smooth and melodious, neither distinctly male nor female, spoke. "I am Harmony. Good evening." The words reverberated across the hall, delivered with gentle clarity. My breath caught. It's speaking. For all my time assisting Wells, I had not believed this day would come so soon. And now, here we were, witnessing a mechanical being greet us with a warmth almost human. Little did I know that the challenges posed by Harmony's existence would far exceed the marvel of its creation. Gabriel Wells had indeed left humanity one last gift, but also, quite possibly, one last curse.